Hello, New Lennox. This is Kelly Jean with Adult and Teen Services. Welcome back to Costumes in Your Closet, our DIY costume series. I'm here with Anna,
Hello.
our adult and teen specialist, who's going to talk a little bit about thrifting. She does this as a hobby, and also she does it a little bit as a side hustle. She'll find clothes and flip them. So she's going to give us some tips on getting the most out of our thrift store and secondhand shop experience. So first, tell us how you got into thrifting.
Yeah, I always kind of thrifted like when we were younger, and then in high school I really got into it. I loved going to thrift stores and finding fun sweaters. My friend and I used to do it all the time and then just like take pictures in it. And then it really turned into a hobby probably like 3 or 4 years ago, and I started just selling items that I found that I thought other people would cherish as well. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. Yeah.
What percentage of items do you think that you've personally kept for yourself versus the ones that you have flipped or resold?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. It's probably 50-50 because sometimes if I really liked an item, I kept it for about a year and took care of it, wore it, and then rewashed it and everything, and then I ended up listing it later on because maybe I grew out of it, or I was like, oh, someone else will love this. So it's definitely 50-50. There's a lot of things I've kept, but then I ended up selling later on, or just things where I just sold it. So it's kind of half and half.
So can you tell us some reasons why someone might want to try thrifting, or what some of the benefits are?
Oh yeah, so I think people, if you're someone who loves the thrill of the hunt, finding something and then finding that thing that you've been wanting for so long, you'll love thrifting. If maybe you don't have the time, to go through racks or to go find that one thing you've been on the lookout for, you can always look on websites like Depop, Mercari, Poshmark, eBay. There's so many. There's many benefits to thrifting. I know it's great for the environment. It keeps clothes out of landfills. You can also find really nice items, like the fabric, like vintage items are really good fabrics. Clothes just like aren't made like that anymore, and you can get them for a really low price, which is really cool. And also just like supporting your local thrift shops and thrift stores, because they might donate to charities and things like that, or your community. So yeah, those are kind of benefits of thrifting.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So obviously there's the environmental side and the economic side.
Right, absolutely.
Now, not all thrift stores are charity shops, which I didn't know that before.
Right, me neither.
But if you go to a charity shop, they usually support a specific charity. But if you go to like a secondhand shop or a consignment shop, that's a good way to kind of stimulate your local economy. So those are a couple of different benefits of doing it. Where do you like to thrift from?
I thrift from Savers, Goodwill, and Goodwill bins. I also love other thrift stores, so if I see any other ones, I like to stop in. But those are like my 3 major ones.
Yeah. Cool. So you just mentioned the bins. You want to tell us a little bit more about what those are and how they're a little bit different from a brick and mortar?
Oh yeah, totally. So Goodwill bins are a lot different from the Goodwill store. So clothes from Goodwill will be taken, clothes that are unopened or clothes that just didn't sell will be taken to a warehouse, and this warehouse is considered like the Goodwill bins. And then these clothes are dumped in a huge, large, like blue bins, and you're able to sort through them, and basically they're like rotated every 2 hours or so, and they're also, in a way, they're organized where it's like clothes, shoes, furniture. It's a lot harder though because the stuff just gets dumped in. So unlike Goodwill stores where it's already like hung up for you and already picked through, this you're picking through it. So you might be going through some garbage, just random things, but it's totally worth it because they also, you pay by the pound instead of by the garment, which is really cool. So if you find some good finds, like you'll get it very cheap, which is really awesome. So yeah, that's kind of how the Goodwill bins are.
Do you have any tips if you're going to go to the bins, like what you should bring with you, or what you should like? Should you bring gloves, that kind of thing?
Definitely bring gloves. I still I wear my mask in the Goodwill bins. I think it's just it's just sanitary. So bring gloves, hand sanitizer, wash your hands. Bring a mask if you'd like. Yeah, definitely those are my tips. And also just there's a lot you'll get competitive people in there that want to serve. So just if you're there just for the fun, just do what you can, and that's all you can do. So yeah, those are kind of my tips though. Definitely gloves, and yeah, maybe a mask, hand sanitizer. Definitely, yeah.
And wash them when you get home.
Yeah, absolutely. Please wash your hands.
I meant the clothes, but yes, wash your hands too.
The clothes and your hands. I'm so sorry.
Everything clean here. All right. Now, you already mentioned a couple earlier, but as far as virtual shops, are there any online consignments or other kinds of sites that you either shop at or sell at?
Oh yeah, so I personally sell on Depop. that's like just something I sell at. I also shop on Depop. I shop in like so many. eBay is another one. I really love eBay. I like finding stuff on there. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, there's Poshmark, Mercari, Facebook Marketplace, where you can find furniture from. Those are all great places to kind of look at. If you're looking for something in specific too, you'll be able to find stuff on there. Yeah.
And a lot of times those are already like picked through, so they tend to be a little bit higher quality.
Yes.
You're looking at more designer brands there.
Right, absolutely. So many, like, especially like whatever you're looking for, if you're looking for something by a specific brand, you're able to kind of just find it, versus if you go to the thrift store, you might not find that or that brand. So yeah, it's a lot easier too, and more, it's less time consuming. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so it's
meant
option.
to be user friendly.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
Opposed to showing up with the bins,
right?
Getting your gloves in there. Yeah. All right, for sure. So you mentioned Facebook Marketplace. I've also had a lot of success on there. I just want to mention that real quick because it's good for furniture.
Oh, yeah.
For our purposes, we're talking a little bit more about garments just for this series, as we're talking about the ways that we can upcycle and reuse garments as we're making them into our costume pieces. But if you do choose to do something on Facebook Marketplace, just a couple of quick safety tips. Make sure that somebody knows where you are and you're meeting in a public place. If you're doing a porch pickup or a driveway pickup, curbside, don't go into someone's house. Just use common sense. So those are just some things to mention with that particular site. But it is really cool because those started as groups that people made within a community, kind of like a community garage sale. And Facebook picked up on the fact that people were really using Facebook in that way. And it's neat to see how that has been integrated into the site.
Oh yeah, totally. It's like a new Craigslist.
Exactly.
So, more user-friendly Craigslist.
User-friendly and a little bit safer.
Definitely safer.
Or I should say more reputable, not necessarily safe.
Right.
So going back kind of to brick and mortar stores in particular, do most thrift stores or secondhand shops accept returns?
So I know I personally shop at Savers. I know Savers does. It's about like 30 days to return or make an exchange. Goodwill used to do returns, but recently in the local area they don't offer returns anymore, which really stinks. So I know they don't, but those two, I know Savers does, Goodwill doesn't, but I think it also just depends on your store, but usually they do offer returns. So I think you just kind of got to ask wherever you end up shopping at. Yeah.
Cool. Right. And you can always redonate stuff if it's not. Don't do that if it's because of a quality issue. Just be a good person. But if it's something that doesn't fit right or just isn't going to be used, you can redonate.
Totally.
Or like ThredUp is an online consignment.
I use that as well.
They have a thing where if it's a quality issue, they have a recycle system.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a little bit different than just like redonating it. And they actually take the fabric and they don't throw it into a landfill, and they use it in a different manner. So you can look a little bit more into that as well for ThredUp.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, so that's a little bit about like your background and how you got into thrifting. So let's talk about, for people who have not done a lot of thrifting or want to do more of it, let's talk about how we do that. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
All right, so when you're shopping, what are things that you are looking for, or is there anything that you're kind of drawn to?
Oh yeah, so when I'm shopping, if I want to make it quick, I kind of look at like the fabric, see if it's pilling, things like that. Instead of going through every item, I'm kind of able to like identify if maybe something I probably just wouldn't purchase because it's maybe just not great quality. But things I do, I always steer towards, plus it's fall, I always steer towards sweaters. I love sweaters. I love vintage sweaters. They're so fun. They just don't make sweaters like that anymore, in my opinion. So that's definitely where I'm like, if you see me at the thrift store, I'm buy the sweaters. So yeah.
Is your sweater thrifted?
No, not today. All my sweaters are like, they're for super cold weather, so I'm not wearing one today, which I should have. Didn't think of that. But I do have a bunch that I will be wearing this fall and winter because I have a bunch of them, so I'm very excited.
We're recording a little bit ahead of time, so by the time you guys see this video, you can come up and see us at Adult and Teen Services. You may see one of Anna's thrifted sweaters as we get into sweater season.
Oh, yeah. You definitely will, so please come see my sweaters.
All right, yeah, sweater season on the second floor. Come and see us, all right? Mentioned one thing, which was pilling on fabric.
Yeah.
What are some other red flags or things that might steer you away from an item?
Oh yeah. For me, it's like odor. Like if it's a really like bad odors, sometimes it's hard to get out. I've bought things where I'm like, I'll be able to get that out, no problem. Like I wasn't worried about it. And I've had things I washed like 7-8 times and I was not able to get the odor out, which really stunk. So yeah. So yeah, no pun intended. So yeah, I would definitely say like odor, and then just like things like if I'm not planning on upcycling clothes or anything like that, just like tears, holes, stains that maybe I wouldn't be able to get out, but usually I can try to get stains out and things like that. So yeah, those are kind of things I stay away from.
For Halloween purposes, you might actually steer towards things that are a little bit distressed already.
That's
that have
true.
Holes in them.
That is very true.
Things that you can get a little grimy. And we will talk a little bit about both distressing and upcycling in other parts of this series. So if you're interested in kind of transforming your garments, make sure that you stay tuned for the rest of costumes in your closet, because we'll give you more specifics on that.
Awesome.
Are there any items kind of in the same vein that you personally never get from a thrift store?
Yes, underwear. I don't.
A no-brainer.
No brainer. But yeah, that's probably one that I just absolutely won't. But usually I'm not too picky. Like usually everything's washable. So as long as it's washable and I'm able to reuse it and it's like I can sanitize it, wash it, whatever it is. If I like it, I grab it if I can. So yeah, usually just like underwear, because I know like I don't think they sell underwear, but you know some places might. I don't know. But that's probably just like the only thing. As long as it's washable, I'm like shoes, just sanitize them, clean them, anything really. Hats you can wash. So yeah, usually anything. I'm not picky or anything like that. Yeah.
On the subject of like sanitizing and odor, do you have any like particular tips on how to get something clean or an odor, like a deodorant thing that works really well for you?
Oh yeah, I use like Lysol detergent sanitizer. That kind of keeps like all the germs and bacteria out of the garment or the item. That's definitely something that I use a lot of, and I just make sure it's like thoroughly washed.
All right. So let's talk about the opposite. What are some like green flags? What things do you see on an item or around an item that tell you that's something you want to grab that's worth the price?
Definitely fabric tags. I think that that's a big one for me. I'm able to identify how to wash it properly, because a lot of vintage items, sometimes if they might be missing the fabric tags, people cut them off or they just go missing because they're a lot older, and like they might just need to be dry cleaned. And so if I'm able to find one where I know how to properly clean it so I don't ruin the garment, especially if it's older, you want to like preserve it, I would say definitely being able to look at the fabric tag to make sure I'm going to be able to clean it properly. That'd probably be a green flag for me.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
Yeah.
I would think of like new tags on garments, because it means it probably hasn't been worn, but like having the information to take care of something. And that's really kind of what we're talking about in this series, is being able to give something another life. And if you can take care of it and give it more longevity, then you're able to do that in another manner, in addition to just being able to reuse it.
Right, yeah, exactly.
What are some of your tips for just getting the most out of thrifting?
Oh yeah, to get the most out of thrifting, other than just having fun, of course, I use this is kind of something fun that I use, but I use this, the Google Lens app, and if I'm trying to find something or any details on the item or anything like that, because you'd be surprised, but there's so many items that have missing tags, like where you can't find the brand, you can't find anything, and you kind of want to find out like where's this from, especially if like you know your fabrics. You can kind of like look at the item and be like, this is definitely like an older item. I will use the Google Lens and I will use the camera function on it, and I'll snap a picture of the garment, and what that does is like it looks up things very similar to whatever item's in front of you, and I have been able to find like really cool backstories on like the items, or maybe someone has a similar listing and they had all the information on that item. That's just a really fun thing to use if you're really interested in like, is this vintage, is it not? That's like a super fun thing to use if you're thrifting. But other than that, just having fun and like enjoying yourself, that's all that matters.
All right, awesome. That's such a cool tip. I would have never thought to do that, but it's interesting how like fashion and history and all that, like anthropology, you can really find that life in an item.
Oh yeah,
you know?
It's so cool.
Let's go back to kind of your personal story. What is your favorite item that you've ever found at a thrift store?
Oh yeah, I found this like 70s like chunky cardigan that had like this kind of like, I think it was hand knit. I never found like what the brand was, but it was definitely older, and it was like hand knit, and it was like had these really chunky sleeves. It was so pretty. That probably has to be like one of my favorite items I ever found. I love it. I loved it. I don't have any more.
All right. You already mentioned that you've like sometimes bought things that you think you can save and you haven't been able to save them.
Yeah.
Is there like one particular item that you've really regretted buying?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably there's kind of just multiple things that like where I bought it and I was like, oh, this is going to be great, or I can repair it or sew it or something. There's been a couple items where there's just like holes that were like too big, or the stains I was never able to get out. It was probably not one in particular, but I've had multiple items over time where I'm like, man, like there was no point in buying this because this just didn't work out. But yeah, that's probably, but nothing in particular that I regretted.
Well, I commend you at least trying, right?
Yeah,
that's already
right.
more than some people
Exactly.
are doing.
Yeah.
On the converse, what is the weirdest thing you've ever found in a thrift store, and did you buy it?
Yeah. Okay, so at a thrift store, I found like these like dolls, and they had it almost looks like their heads were kind of cut off of these, like, and they were old dolls, like almost looked like the heads were cut off and then like re-sewn on. I did not buy that. No. It could be a fun Halloween decoration if you're interested.
I was gonna say very topical
yes,
for like our
very,
series.
But for me, I was like, oh, that's creepy.
What a
like,
prop.
no. Yeah. So it's definitely something interesting. It was definitely resewn because you could tell. So it was very it was an interesting find. But I did not purchase it. No.
All right. Well, towards the beginning, you mentioned that if you are the kind of person who really loves a hunt, that you'll probably like thrifting. So does that mean that you have like a bucket list of items that you're specifically looking for?
Oh yeah, usually I do. Right now, actually, I'm looking for like fun 90s Halloween sweaters and vests. You can always find those at the thrift store, and I love them so much.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, they're so fun. So that's actually my bucket list right now. And then I'm kind of just looking for like some fun bags and stuff like that right now. But nothing too crazy right now, but definitely the sweaters. I am on the search for those. I love those, and they're so fun.
You know, a lot of times around Christmas, people will specifically go to thrift stores, and it's harder to find them now because it's become this whole like trend of the ugly sweaters. Kind of an anecdote. I had an aunt one time who wore one of those like 90s, you know, just like a school teacher sweater. You guys know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's got like lots of patches and stuff on it. And they're usually themed, so you got your different seasons. We had a ugly Christmas sweater party, excuse me. And she won for ugliest sweater, but she didn't know it was an ugly sweater contest. She just was wearing her regular sweater. She's like, this is my vintage sweater that I wore when I was a teacher in the 90s.
Oh, I feel that. I would have loved it.
So, just something to mention.
That's
but
funny.
like, I love giving those things a second life. And if you can wear them, you know, ironically or unironically.
Yes, wear them. They're fun.
Yeah, you're allowed to enjoy things.
Exactly.
All right. So, kind of on that topic, what is your style? What is your personal approach to like self-expression with clothes?
Yeah, I definitely dress with intention and purpose. I love earthy tones and neutral tones. That's kind of more where I lie, but I also love fun patterns. I love, like we were just talking about those like Halloween sweaters we're looking for. I love like those like fun like I don't know, like character type sweaters and things like that. I love those types of things. Definitely, I think it's a form of art to be able to dress yourself and express yourself without really saying anything. So yeah, just that's kind of like my personal style. Yeah.
So it kind of sounds like you're drawn to like particular statement pieces, and then you kind of work around that. Does that sound?
Yeah, that you put it in better words than I did. What she said. Yes, that way. Yeah.
Yeah. See, personally, I tend to do things the other way. Where
Okay.
I really like quirky like accessories.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'll usually like wear like a base like. Here I am wearing a neutral. Like, that's all my closet
It's okay,
is.
me too. It's okay.
But then, like, I'm not wearing any today, but I really love, like, vintage earrings that are, like, fun and characters. So I relate to that. So I kind of do it the opposite way. But everyone gets to... That's the fun part about clothes.
Oh, yeah,
right?
exactly.
You get to do it however you want to style
Exactly.
it. So I like to have, like, little, like, nerdy nods to things that are kind of incorporated into my everyday dress.
I love that, though.
So that it's like a little hunt that you can find stuff.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. So do you have any, like, style influences or icons that you like?
I can't think of anyone in particular, but I do follow this Instagram account, and it's a photographer that takes pictures of, like, everyday people in New York, and oh my gosh, all these people have the coolest style. Like, it's truly, like, unique. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So I follow that account. I draw a lot of inspiration from there because all these people have, like, so many cool ideas on the way they dress. So I would say I definitely follow that account, and I really
Is that Humans of
love
New
it.
York?
This one's called Watching New York, but there's another
Right.
one called Humans of New York. Oh my gosh, I have to look into that one. This one's called Watching New York, if you ever want to look it up, but it's super cool. Everyone has like the cool style on there.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll get that information and we'll make sure that it's going to be up on the screen so you can follow those accounts. Humans of New York like started out as a photography thing, and then it really shifted into stories.
Oh, that's awesome.
So there's a couple of different social media accounts. I recommend that too. It's not really a fashion focused one, but it's just something that I think you guys will enjoy.
Right, yeah.
So we're going to switch gears and we're going to go back to talking about costumes in your closet. Do you have a favorite thrifted, DIY, or otherwise Halloween costume?
Yeah, so my sophomore year of high school, I dressed as Audrey Hepburn, and I thrifted that entire outfit. So, yeah, that was probably my favorite costume because it was super fun to, like, find, like, those fun things of trying to recreate her look. That was probably my favorite. I really love that one. Yeah.
My favorite, there's a series that used to be on Netflix. It has transitioned away from Netflix, but it's Miss Phryne Fisher's Mysteries, which is based on a book series that you can get here at the library. It's actually on display right now.
Oh, sweet.
And because I put it there, the whole thing is in Australia in like the 30s, and it's a great ensemble because her fashion is amazing in that show. The costuming, if you're interested in costuming, I highly recommend it. But I went and thrifted my stuff for that, and I did it as a group costume with my husband and my roommate from college.
Oh, that's so fun.
And I actually, this is how extra I am, I actually did like 4 costume changes, but absolutely everything except for the wig and like one hat was thrifted for those.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So I'll make sure that I share that with you, and
Yes.
we'll have it up on the video as well, so you guys can take a look at that.
We all want to
I'm
see
really
it.
proud of it. Like I found shoes, I found dresses, I found jackets.
Oh, I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, I'll have to share that with you. That's my personal favorite.
Yeah.
Do you have any any tips specifically for thrifting with costuming in mind?
Yeah, definitely check your closet first. See if there's anything that you need. And if you're looking for a costume, maybe just try to look kind of like really narrowed down so then you can really like save your time. Because if you're looking for multiple things for a costume, it might feel overwhelming at the thrift store. So if you can really narrow down what you need and kind of have like a list and you're like, okay, this is what I need to look for. I know sometimes they're like color coded at thrift stores and things like that, so that might help. They also have like long sleeves listed. So just go in with a mission and a list so you don't feel so overwhelmed already being in a thrift store.
Yeah, because those are usually like very large spaces.
Yeah, right. And it can get overwhelming. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a great tip. All right, we're going to leave with one, like, just fun question.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we mentioned earlier in the series, we were talking about how palettes, like, influence cartoon characters, and, like, you can create a look by using the same colors. But there's just kind of an iconic thing that a lot of animated characters have, where it's, like, one outfit that they just wear for the rest of their lives. If you were an animated character and you could only wear one outfit for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I have this really cool, like, olive green. It's like an olive, such a pretty olive green, like, crew neck, everything sweaters for me. It's a crew neck sweater. It's so fun, and I'd probably wear that and, like, some comfortable knit pants, and I am set. It's comfortable, it looks cute, it works in any environment, it's perfect. That is probably my go-to outfit. The rest of my life, surprisingly, it's a cozy outfit. But I gotta be cozy, so that would be mine.
Right. Awesome. There you have it. Well, if you guys have opinions on what your outfit would be, definitely leave that in the comments because we do want to know.
Yes, we want to know.
And I hope that you guys enjoyed this segment of Costumes in Your Closet with Kelly Jean and Anna. And make sure you stay tuned for more information on how to DIY costumes from pieces that are already in your possession.
Yay.
Have a great rest of your night, guys, and keep
Bye.
watching.
Thank you.